How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and I'm sure we are all aware of what went down yesterday in the NFL. That's what we're going to be talking about today, and as you can see on the title below, is what has kind of been stirring the rumors for the last week or so, and it finally came true yesterday. Micah Parsons, star edge rusher for the Dallas Cowboys, has been traded. He gets traded to the Green Bay Packers in exchange for a couple of first round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. Now, if you go back to when I talked about this topic, Micah Parsons potentially being traded, a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, I said that I was of the impression that, look, I know things might be a little bit rocky right now, but I figured that the Cowboys are going to get a deal done with Micah Parsons and that he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy for the rest of his career. Even after he put out his farewell letter post saying that, he's requesting a trade and that he wants out of Dallas. I thought there was going to be a way that the Cowboys and Micah Parsons would come together and come to an agreement and he would still be with the team. But I guess the relationship was so fractured to the point of no return that the Cowboys, over the last week or so, or last few days, started to really listen to trade offers. And they liked what the Packers were offering them, and they took it. Packers give Micah Parsons his new deal, which doesn't kick in until next year because he's still on his rookie deal. And that's it. Micah Parsons is gone. And like I said when I talked about this whole Micah Parsons situation, Jerry Jones had his fingerprints all over this thing, the timing of the negotiations. Jerry Jones once again did not handle this properly. You go back to when Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb were looking for their new deals and the amount of time it took for Jerry Jones to negotiate a new deal with those two players, and they finally got their deals done. But if you would have got them done earlier, you wouldn't have to pay them as much money because you had to pay them what the market value was. And now Dak Prescott's making $60 million, and CeeDee Lamb, is making I think $34 million a year. So, and Michael Parsons, you'd have to pay him what Myles Garrett and what T.J. Watt got, if not more. It ended up being more because, with his new deal now, he is now the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history. And the deal, it's a 4-year deal, 4-year, $188 million extension with the Packers, $136 million guaranteed, averages $47 million per year. And he's still playing under the 5th-year option for the 2025 season, which has a cap hit of a little over $21 million. So the Packers, I love this deal for the Packers. It is unfortunate that Kenny Clark had to go back in the trade. He's been with the Packers for a long time. I think he's been around since 2016 when the Packers took him. Is a run stuffer, but he is getting up there in age, and he was coming off of his worst season to date. But the Cowboys needed a guy that could stop the run up the middle, and Kenny Clark does provide that. But now you just lost a generational talent in Micah Parsons. But, this is a slam dunk for the Packers because the Packers, they struggled, rushing the passer last year, and you got some young edge rushers over there. And that is an instant upgrade right there for the Packers. But, yeah, I didn't think that Micah Parsons was going to get traded. I really thought that the Cowboys were going to figure things out and he was going to stay. But, yeah, the relationship had to be really a mess to the point where, yeah, they had to trade him. They had to trade him. And I remember saying this as they were getting into the process of negotiating with their stars and giving their stars new contracts. I was saying, look, you look at Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons, right? Micah Parsons is a top 3 edge rusher in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb, maybe not top 3, but he's within the top 5 of best receivers in the NFL. And with Dak Prescott, you wouldn't list him as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, is he top 10? Yeah, you can put him in the top 10, but he's not top 5. A couple years ago, he had his, best season arguably in 2023, and that's why he deserved to, get paid what he got. But Dak Prescott is not. When we think of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, he's not up there. So that's why I was like, well, I think, Micah Parsons is a generational talent. CeeDee Lamb's a top receiver. I mean, Dak Prescott to me should have been the odd man out. Now, the problem is he plays the most important position, so you get rid of Dak Prescott. What's the alternative? Because with the Cowboys, you want to be a team that's supposed to be competing every year. But yeah, I don't think Dak Prescott deserves $60 million a year. I don't. He's not a $60 million per year quarterback. But they gave him that contract. They gave CD his contract. So you get to Micah Parsons, and it's just it was a different kind of situation because of what you're hearing with Jerry Jones and Micah. They had a deal in place earlier this year, and then all of a sudden you try to get the agent involved, and everything fell apart after that, which doesn't make sense. It's a mess of a situation. And, now you traded Micah Parsons away. Not only did you trade him away, you traded him to a team that's owned you for the last decade. I mean, how many times did these teams match up in the playoffs and the Cowboys were on the losing end? Undefeated on the road going into Lambeau against the Packers in the 2014-2015 divisional round. They lose that game. Dez caught it, but they ruled that he dropped it. Then you had the number 1 seed. Had the Packers coming to you. You end up losing that game. Aaron Rodgers makes a great throw to Jared Cook, and then Mason Crosby makes those 2 field goals at the end of the game. And then a couple years ago, you're the 2 seed. Packers are the 7 seed. And the Packers end up being the first 7 seed in this new playoff format to knock off a 2 seed. And the Packers put up 48 points with Jordan Love, who just finished up his first full regular season as a starting quarterback in the NFL and making his playoff debut. And you got torched. And you trade him to that team. That's who you end up trading him to. And circle your calendars, everybody. Circle your calendars, because these 2 teams will match up this season. Week 4, I believe. Sunday Night Football. Yep, Sunday Night Football, September 28th. The Packers take on the Cowboys in Jerry World, and that is must-see TV. Micah Parsons going against his former team, and he's going to really want to stick it to the Cowboys because of how this whole thing was handled. And I don't think Micah is totally innocent in this because, when you see him on the bench, on the sidelines, during the preseason games, just is so disinterested. I mean, at that point, just go home. Why are you even there? That wasn't a good look. But, this to me is more of a Jerry Jones problem and how he handles it. Now, he thinks that, with these 2 first-round picks, they can go and get elite-level talent. And look, the Cowboys, they're good at drafting. But these type of players like Micah Parsons don't grow on trees. All right? He's an elite pass rusher. He's, like I said, a top 3 pass rusher in the league. And you just traded him away. You traded him away. And you traded for an older player. Micah Parsons is 26. Kenny Clark is 30. You trade him away. So now with the Cowboys' defense, the defense has gotten even worse. And it was bad last year with Micah Parsons. Now he's not there anymore, and it's going to be even worse. And, the Cowboys, like, they trade for George Pickens, and you think that's a good move. You add another wide receiver to that room with CeeDee Lamb. That's good. Dak Prescott's coming back healthy. But then you go and you trade your best player on defense and arguably your best player on the team. So now what are the Cowboys? They're a third, fourth place team in this division. I don't know if they definitely, they got worse. They got worse. I don't want to say like the Giants are going to pass them. I know some people might have the Giants finishing in third and the Cowboys finishing in last. And then the Commanders and the Eagles finishing ahead of both of those teams. Obviously the Eagles are still the best. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have the Cowboys making the playoffs. We're gonna do a show next week with who's winning the divisions, playoff teams, all that. Cowboys were not on that list. They were not going to be a playoff team for me this year. And with this move, they're definitely not going to be a playoff team this year. Even more so. Because how is their defense? How are they going to stop anybody? How are you going to get after the passer? How? And you also lost to Marcus Lawrence. He went away, and now he's playing in Seattle. That's another pass rusher you lost. I mean, maybe they surprise us, but that was it's not good. It's not good. Now, if you would have did this before the draft, then okay, then you can address it during the draft and what have you. But they waited till we're less than a week away from the season opener that the Cowboys will be playing in, by the way. And now it's kind of just, all right, got to play with what we got. And on top of that, you get 2 first-round picks from the Packers. Well, the Packers are not going to be a bad team. So it's not like you're going to be picking in the top 10 unless catastrophe happens. So it's not good. I mean, you could definitely get talent with first-round picks, but are you going to be able to get somebody that is going to reach the level of production that Micah Parsons had and be at the stature of that? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But the Cowboys, with all of the jokes and things on social media, the critiques of the Cowboys, they do a good job at drafting good players. So maybe they do find some guys that could come in and at least get the job done in the future with these picks. But for right now, in 2025, it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season for that defense. And you got a quarterback that's just coming back from an injury last year. So you're going to put a lot of pressure on the offense to go out there and basically score on every drive. And I brought this up too. They're basically the Bengals. Got all this talent on offense, but your defense is going to be giving up points constantly. So, yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong. There was no amount of money that was going to keep Micah Parsons in Dallas. Micah Parsons was basically saying, "Yep, I'm done. I'm out. Nothing is going to get me to change." And as everyone keeps saying, Jerry Jones is the gift that keeps on giving. And it's just, Cowboys fans are not happy today. And I get it. I get it. I cannot wait for that Week 4 game. That is going to be very, very juicy. Micah Parsons going up against his former team. That's going to be a lot of fun. And as for the Packers, look, they were a team with a couple of others that as I'm thinking of who's going to make the playoffs. They play in such a loaded division with really good offenses. The Bears you think are going to be better. The Bears are undefeated against the Packers in 2025. Let's not forget they won on that last-second field goal in Lambeau. And now Ben Johnson's the new head coach. I mean, they're going to be better. They got a lot of talent on offense. You look at the Lions and the talent they have on that side of the ball. You look at the Vikings and all the talent they have. They just traded for Adam Thielen now. He's back. So you got Thielen. You got Jefferson. Addison's going to come back from suspension. They upgraded at the offensive line, the interior. J.J. McCarthy, there's unknowns. We got to see what he does in his first year starting. But, I mean, that team is loaded. So you got to get a guy that can rush the passer and get after these quarterbacks. And that's what they did. This is a massive upgrade for them. And it's going to pay off. Now, the one thing you do worry about a little bit is with that contract and also the Jordan Love contract, they have a window where they need to really get something going here. Because, it's going to be a lot of that cap is going to take a massive hit from the contracts they have on the roster. So, obviously you can maneuver things around and figure it out. But that is something to think about as well. But I mean, for the Packers, you had the opportunity to get a guy like Micah Parsons, you take it, and that's what they did. And in this loaded division, you need a guy like him. So I really like this move for the Packers. I look for me. I got to see what Jordan Love does this year. On the other side of the ball, Jordan Love is got to have a bounce back year because I think with him being injured last year, and he's injured already with the thumb, I believe. So hopefully, but he's been practicing. I think that's really what it all comes down to. If Jordan Love can stay healthy, Matthew Golden has impressed. Their first round wide receiver from this year's draft. Packers are really looking to make a run and improve it. They were very poor against the NFC North last year. They only won one game, and it was against the Bears at Soldier Field on a blocked field goal. Lost to everybody else, and they lost to the Bears. Like I said, the Bears are undefeated against them in 2025. So, yeah, they got to improve on that if they want to make some noise in the NFC this year. But yeah, this is big news. This is huge news. We are a week away from the season. Can't wait. I'm taking the Eagles. I was kind of debating. It was going to be if Micah Parsons does play, I probably would take the Cowboys. If he doesn't play, well, now he's not even on the team anymore. I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm definitely taking the Eagles next week. Now, it's a divisional game. Who knows? But I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles. I don't know how that defense is going to... Saquon Barkley is going to run all over that defense. Yeah, it could be a long night for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. But maybe they find a way to block out that outside noise and be competitive. Because Dak does well against the Eagles in his career. So, yeah, but let me know what you guys think about this trade. Because this was massive. Let me know in the comments. As always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video and to the channel. Make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms in the description below. And wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.